Hi, I'm Hannah Kennedy here with Mark Sisson from Nanotechnology, here to dig a little deeper about what's been going on in his company and how it can benefit you. So thank you so much for coming.
Thank you. Pleasure.
Thank you. So your company, Nanotechnology, produces a line of self-cleaning surfaces. Can you give us a quick explanation of what that means?
Sure. I'll give you a little background too. 3 years ago when we started, self-cleaning surfaces wasn't really a term that was known outside of the scientific community for the most part. And my business partner and I were in a restaurant having lunch and talking about the state of some really interesting material science that we were working with and the nanotechnology powered photocatalysts, and which I'll go over in just a minute. But so we're sitting in a restaurant having this very deep scientific discussion, and we look outside and a person's about to come in the restaurant. And right before they get there, they sneeze and then they grab the door. We're like, okay, well, let's not touch that door handle when we leave. And then we started looking around, and there was a mother with a young child, a toddler, and she had out her antimicrobial wipes. She was wiping the table down, wiping her kids' hands off. She was obviously concerned with clean. And then we saw another table where the people were using hand sanitizer. They were concerned with clean. And then we looked at the wait staff. They were going around cleaning the tabletops with what looked like, a dirty dish rag. So that all kind of percolated with us, and my partner kind of had this aha moment. And he said, hey, what if we used the material science we've been working on with the nanotechnology to create surfaces that are cleaner, and you could put them anywhere you wanted to put them. And so that's kind of how the whole self-cleaning surfaces started. 3 years later, that is now a reality, and we're actually producing these surfaces. And so what they are is a surface that continuously oxidizes organic material. Any organic material that's on the surface, it breaks it down into its base components, water, carbon dioxide, things like that. So that's basically what a self-cleaning surface is.
That is so neat. So Nanotechnology was recently awarded $2 million for a research and development grant, right?
Yeah.
To continue your development of self-cleaning surfaces. Can you tell us a little bit more about what you're working on?
Sure. It's been kind of an exciting year for us getting that funding. But it hasn't been painless. We went through an exhaustive 8-month vetting process where they put together a committee that evaluated the science that we were using, and as well as evaluated every aspect of our business to make sure we were, a viable business moving forward before they gave us all this money.
Sure, right.
But we're thrilled, in the end that we got this funding from the state to pursue some really interesting product development. We're working on 4 research initiatives simultaneously right now. The first one is more of a pure scientific research, which is improving the efficacy and the speed of the oxidation reaction on the surface. The second, which is supported by that scientific research, is to research advanced manufacturing equipment and processes that will allow us to very reliably, consistently produce these surfaces, and also scalably, because we think the global market potential for self-cleaning surfaces is going to be huge, and we want to be prepared to meet that demand as it comes. The third research initiative is market and industry research, which is one of the reasons I'm thrilled to be here at this show. I love talking to ISSA, I love talking to the members, because they're actually the professionals, the boots on the ground, dealing with clean issues every day. And so we've actually been funded to go out to these industries, talk to the professionals, lay out what the technology does, and see what they think the potential is in their industry. How can it solve their specific problems? And then that research will guide our product development as we move forward. And then the fourth research initiative is more on the government and regulatory side. Because this is so new, we want to work with the EPA to generate custom test protocols and data requirements to create a path to EPA registration for self-cleaning surfaces.
Wow, this is amazing. This sounds so great. So, how fast does a self-cleaning surface product work? Like, how does that happen?
Well, we've been doing a lot of research, obviously, with this grant, produced some really interesting data. That data has started coming in. The interesting thing is one of our recent tests, like on staph A, one of the pathogens, had a 96% reduction in 2 hours. Another test completely eradicated the human coronavirus in under 30 minutes. And so the interesting thing about those stats is they don't mean that much on their own. And in fact, we have people ask us, well, if I have a person in front of me touch a door handle and deposit germs, and I come after them 5 minutes later, can I pick up germs? Of course you can, definitely. But I would follow up and ask them, how many germs is that normal door handle killing? And the answer is actually worse than 0. You know, the million bacteria I put on that door handle now turns into 10 million bacteria very quickly. So we see a tremendous opportunity for self-cleaning surfaces that work continuously, they're always on, to supplement the performance of one-time kills like disinfectants and your traditional cleaners.
Wow. So could we just apply titanium dioxide to every single surface so our entire environment, our whole planet could just be self-cleaning, self-efficient and everything like that? Is that possible?
That's a good question. You know, it is possible, and it's actually being done in some situations. For example, a hospital operating room. You want to kill everything in that environment, except the patient, right? So that's a place where having a sterile environment is a very positive thing. However, our mission, which is to create cleaner, healthier environments in which to live, work, and play, if we look at the idea of creating a completely sterile environment, what I'm about to say is going to sound counterintuitive. We don't want a sterile environment. Many of the microbes in our environment are very good. They're beneficial to us. In fact, a recent study showed that in the human body, microbes outnumbered our own cells 10 to 1. So we need those microbes. We don't want to create a sterile environment. In fact, creating a sterile environment would go against creating a healthier environment. So that's why the products we create are more of a rifle shot approach. We want to put those surfaces only where they're needed when they're needed.
Wow, well that's interesting. I didn't know any of that. So ISSA has transformed how businesses view cleaning with the value of clean.
Right.
So what role do you see for self-cleaning surfaces in the value discussion?
Well, the value discussion, I think the value discussion is very important. In fact, ISSA, by creating a value discussion, just by doing that, has transformed the industry. What used to be a very commoditized service, where that service was being performed because people thought they had to do it, not because people actually saw value in it. ISSA has changed that discussion. And I think what I'd like to do is even add a component to the value of clean. I'd like to talk about the psychology of clean. You know, if you look at people and their perception is what drives a lot of our value. And so people need a visual indicator of this is a cleaner place to touch, this is a cleaner place to rest personal items or food. And if you give that to them, they perceive a value there. They perceive that the place is healthier and cleaner, right? If we go back to the previous question, which was, can we just coat everything with a self-cleaning surface? That might be okay, but because people can't see it, it's invisible, it doesn't have any perceived value for people. So we think there's a tremendous opportunity to add to that value of clean with the psychology of clean and really utilize people's perception to make them feel better about their environment.
That's so true about the psychology of clean.
Yeah.
So what is the most interesting application or product you are developing right now?
One we just finished was a reusable continuously self-cleaning tissue box cover.
Oh.
So you can imagine those cube tissue boxes. it just slips over them. And people who are grabbing for tissues, generally you don't want to touch things that they've touched, right? It makes sense. So that's one we just finished. The two we're working on right now, one is little rubber bumper feet, a pair of bumper feet for the back of your phone or iPad or any electronic device. We set our electronic devices down on some really nasty surfaces, right? And so not only are these self-cleaning feet, but they keep the electronic device up off of those dirty surfaces, again, to prevent that whole issue of cross-contamination. So that's our first real consumer product, and we ought to have that out before the end of the year. Another one, before I tell you what it is, I'll paint you a little picture.
Okay.
So ISSA has this huge show. People come in from not just around the country, but all over the world to this show. And most of us flew here, right?
Yes.
So flying today is not that pleasant of a process. When you get to the airport, before you go to security, the security is going to have a long line. It's going to be an arduous process. You're going to go to the restroom. And you're going to go in the restroom and you're going to walk all over that wonderfully clean restroom floor, right? So then you go to the security. And what's the first thing security has you do? Take off your shoes and put the shoes in that security bin, right? And the poor sap that gets that security bin after you, and they put their wallet, their eyeglasses, their keys, their phone, all the things that touch them and everything, it goes in the same bin where your shoes were that have been all over the bathroom floor. So the thing we're working on now is a self-cleaning mat that would be easily replaceable, that goes in those security bins. And not only would it provide a self-cleaning surface, but if we go back to the psychology of clean, most people when they go through security have nothing but negative feelings toward the TSA, right?
That's
So
true.
now we provide a venue where the TSA actually does something that people might appreciate. And so when people see it, they might go, wow, thanks TSA for trying to make my experience, my travels a little cleaner and healthier.
Oh, wow, that is so good.
Yeah.
I have learned so much, been very informed, and I
Great.
know all of our viewers have. Thank you so much for tuning in.